Alright, I'm back, and I just wanted to give you a quick updated look at my forge. It's changed a little bit since last time. First major difference is to the tweer. You can see where I used to just have holes drilled into it, but now what I did this week was I took my angle grinder and I cut these slots into it so it can let more air in. And then I put this grate in. I used to have this cinder block here. It used to sit right here. But the reason I put this grate in and I cut this slot into it is so that when I'm forging bigger knives, I can slide one end out through here. Or also, if I want to work from this end, I could just stick the knife into the coals from this end. Now, I haven't been doing any forging for a while. I haven't worked on anything because I've had a back injury for a few years, and I couldn't stand up long enough to do anything. I couldn't stand for long periods of time, or really any length of time. But anyway, now I've had surgery, but I'm not going to get into that. But what I have been working on, I actually started practicing this before my back got so bad that I couldn't stand anymore, is this. I've been practicing forge welding. And what this was, this flat part, this was a railroad spike, like this one. I hammered it flat, then folded it on itself, and welded them together. And then, so I wouldn't have to be messing with this, just this small piece. I wouldn't have to have a hard time pulling it out of the coals with a plier. Actually, it got so buried in the coals, I actually had a hard time finding it even. But I welded this piece of rebar to it, and it worked really good. It was actually really stuck on there. It ain't going nowhere. So yeah, forge welding is pretty fun, and it opens up a lot of new possibilities for some projects I can do. So anyway, that's what I've been up to lately, just modifying the forge. That's the great part about building your own forge, is that you can tweak it however you want. If you're not happy with the way it's working, you can just make whatever adjustments you need. But still use the leaf blower there, the valve there that I open and shut to let more or less air out to the tweer. This container is where I keep the oil that I quench my knives in, and this container is the flux that I use for welding. So when the metal is glowing bright yellow, I put that powder on it, and it actually melts into a liquid, and that's what lets the steel stick. And if you don't know what forge welding is, the process, that stuff, flux, it's not like a glue. What it is it prevents the steel from oxidizing, which is what happens when you see all that scale. That's all just burnt off metal, and you can see some of it built up here on my anvil. This is all burnt steel. Anyway, it eats up all that stuff, and if there's rust on the metal, it'll eat it off and everything, and then so that when the hot steel is hammered, it'll actually allow it to stick to itself. So that's how forge welding works. That's like a really simplified explanation. So